Long before he arrived, he had already sensed something. The land was a wasteland, with waves of celestial power resonating in the air, clearly indicating that a great battle had just taken place here. Taking a deep breath, Wang Lin's divine sense quickly detected the figure of Liu Mei in the southern part of Renegade Star. Liu Mei had changed somewhat, or rather, she looked even more stunning than before. Furrowing his brow slightly, Wang Lin stepped forward, and in the blink of an eye, he vanished from his spot. When he reappeared, he was in the extreme south, only 100 paces away from Liu Mei. Liu Mei stared at the figure that had appeared 100 paces away. Her eyes glowed with a peculiar light. She had sensed this person the moment he approached Renegade Star. There was something familiar about him, yet his appearance was unfamiliar. She said nothing, simply gazing at Wang Lin in silence. Wang Lin glanced at Liu Mei and said calmly, "You've killed your target. You may leave now." Since his arrival, Wang Lin had been puzzled about why Liu Mei was in this extreme southern location. A sweep of his divine sense immediately revealed the presence of Sun Shi's avatar within a nearby city. After a moment of contemplation, he pieced everything together. Since the three of them were involved, there was no need for Wang Lin to overstep. He could just do his part and leave. What made Wang Lin uneasy, however, was Liu Mei's cultivation, which had reached the later stage of peak ascension. This level of power made Wang Lin's pupils contract ever so slightly. How could Liu Mei's cultivation have reached such a level? Could it be related to the Patriarch of the Phantom Clan? It must be. Wang Lin's gaze swept over Liu Mei, and a flash of realization crossed his eyes. She still retained some celestial power, likely forcibly enhanced. But such an enhancement only improves her celestial energy, not her conceptual comprehension, which will not be on the same level. "Have we met before?" Liu Mei asked softly, staring at Wang Lin. "No," Wang Lin replied flatly. Liu Mei studied Wang Lin for a long time. Then a slight smile appeared on her lips, as gentle as a spring breeze. However, to Wang Lin, her smile only met with a calm, indifferent gaze. "Enough," Wang Lin said, his voice turning colder. "Leave now before I change my mind." Liu Mei's eyes flickered with complexity, and she spoke softly. "I never expected your cultivation to have reached this level. Even I can't see through you." Wang Lin frowned and shot her a cold look, turning to leave. Since the three on Renegade Star had hidden their avatars, there was no need for him to keep involving himself. "Do you really think I wouldn't recognize you?" Liu Mei's voice was cold, tinged with a hint of malice. Wang Lin's steps paused, and he turned around, his eyes now icy. "No need to test me. I am Wang Lin. If you continue to harass me like you did on Vermilion Bird Star, don't blame me for killing." Liu Mei's heart, starkly different from her exterior, was in turmoil. She had never imagined running into Wang Lin here in the Luotian Star domain, let alone discovering that his cultivation had reached a level so powerful that even she couldn't see through him. Images of the past flashed before her eyes. She stared at Wang Lin, and the complexity in her gaze deepened. Softly, she murmured, "No one else has eyes as cold as yours. You've changed your appearance, changed everything, but your gaze remains the same. Perhaps the reason you've altered everything is because you didn't want me to recognize you." Wang Lin furrowed his brow, staring at Liu Mei coldly. "I'll say this one last time, leave." Liu Mei smiled sweetly, the complexity in her eyes disappearing and replaced with coldness. She spoke gently. "Your cultivation definitely can't surpass mine. You must have some hidden treasure or divine art to conceal your true strength. You won't be leaving today." A cold glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He raised his right hand, pointing forward. Immediately, the annihilation finger tore through the air, transforming into black light and shooting towards Liu Mei. The air around it rippled with circular waves, filled with the deafening roar of thunder. As the annihilation finger approached, Liu Mei's expression remained unchanged. With a graceful gesture of her hand, a spell appeared in the air, forming a light barrier in front of her. The annihilation finger crashed into it with a loud boom, sending electric sparks flying. The light barrier cracked instantly with numerous fissures. Liu Mei shook her head and whispered, "I wasn't wrong. Your cultivation is only at the early stage of peak ascension. The drawbacks of forcibly enhanced cultivation are too great. Your master must have some other purpose in mind with such actions." Wang Lin said coldly, his voice steady. Liu Mei chuckled softly. So what? Today, you won't escape. If you hadn't reached peak ascension, I wouldn't bother. But since you have, let's settle the grudge between us and Vermilion Bird Star once and for all. Let me send you to reunite with Liu Mei. Seeking death. Wang Lin snapped. He slapped his storage pouch, and the 7-star sword array roared out, forming 7 long rainbows that shot straight towards Liu Mei. Liu Mei's expression remained unchanged as her jade-like right finger touched the center of her brow. A flash of red light flickered from her brow, and in an instant, the red light exploded, enveloping her body. The light condensed and formed into the shape of a woman. This woman had an arrogant look in her eyes, sharp gaze, and a peerless beauty. Her phoenix eyes exuded a deadly aura as she looked toward Wang Lin. Red Butterfly. Wang Lin's eyes sparkled with brilliance. This woman was none other than Red Butterfly. Red Butterfly stared coldly at Wang Lin and spoke in an indifferent tone. The grudge between us should be settled now. With that, she slapped her storage pouch, and a red rose appeared in her hand. As she waved her hand forward, all the petals fluttered into the air, imbued with an unusual power, and flew toward Wang Lin. What kind of divine ability is this? Wang Lin's pupils constricted. In an instant, Liu Mei had transformed into Red Butterfly before his eyes. With Wang Lin's cultivation and divine sense, it was clear that this was the true Red Butterfly, with no trace of Liu Mei left. As the petals flew toward him, Wang Lin formed a hand seal, and with a subtle movement of his mind, the 7-star sword formation immediately surrounded him. 7 swords spun rapidly in a circle, forming a gust of sword wind that howled forward, shattering the petals into pieces. Red Butterfly's arrogance intensified as she flicked her right hand, and flower stamens flew out. With a light gesture of her left hand in front of her, the stamens combined, forming a symbol. She pressed it down, and the symbol immediately shot out, rapidly expanding until it grew to the size of a towering mountain, crashing toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light as he raised his right hand to point at the sky. The heavens rumbled with thunder as a long yellow river of the netherworld stretched out, shattering the symbol. The netherworld was filled with a foul, bloody wind, and under Wang Lin's finger, it roared like a yellow dragon, instantly enveloping Red Butterfly's body. With a swift pull, it seemed as though it would drag her into the netherworld. Tao Concept. You've actually mastered Tao Concept. Red Butterfly's eyes gleamed with a sharp light, and she spoke in a calm tone. Wang Lin snorted coldly, and as the netherworld raged, the sky darkened. Flashes of lightning lit up within the yellow river, making its power even more formidable. In the face of this imminent danger, Red Butterfly pressed her hand to her brow again. This time, a yellow light enveloped her body. In an instant, the yellow light dissipated, revealing a small figure within. Uncle. These 2 words carried an inexplicable force, causing Wang Lin's Tao transformation of the yellow spring to pause for a moment. Zhou Ru. The small figure was Zhou Ru, her eyes wide open with fear as she looked at Wang Lin, tears welling up in her eyes. Uncle, I finally found you. Please don't abandon me. Wang Lin's face twisted in pain, and he shouted, Enough, Liu Mei. The Tao transformation of the yellow spring swept forward, immediately engulfing Zhou Ru's body. Fear and confusion filled her eyes as she gazed at Wang Lin, tears streaming down her face as she softly said, Uncle, are you going to kill me? This is a fake. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. The yellow spring constricted, forming a violent storm as it surged into Zhou Ru's body, about to completely absorb her. At that very moment, a weak voice echoed. Taizhu. The voice rang like a bell within Wang Lin's body. He saw his mother, whom he hadn't seen for over 800 years, within the yellow spring. Her eyes were filled with tenderness as she gazed at him. Wang Lin's heart trembled. His hand shook as the Tao transformation of the yellow spring shattered, collapsing into nothingness. This, too, is fake. Wang Lin's eyes glowed with red light. Fake, you say? Wang Lin. Under the 10,000 illusions heavenly demon path, there is both truth and illusion. Liu Mei's voice echoed, ethereal, coming from all directions. Zhou Ru, Red Butterfly, and even Wang Lin's father emerged from the void, each casting a kind look upon Wang Lin. Wang Lin, do you still remember me? Wang Zhu walked out from the void. He was not the weathered old man, but the spirited young man he had been long ago. Disciple, you must remember to pass on the soul-refining sect's legacy. The voice of Dun Tian, now aged, echoed as his figure emerged from the void. One by one, familiar figures appeared, silently gazing at Wang Lin. Their expressions varied, some complex, some filled with loss, some with joy, and some with sorrow. In the void, blue light flickered and coalesced into a woman, Li Muin. Li Muin looked at Wang Lin, her eyes filled with tenderness, and softly asked, Wang Lin, am I also fake? She stood beside Wang Lin's mother, both gazing at him with calm expressions. 10,000 Illusions Heavenly Demon Path. Wang Lin looked at the familiar faces before him, pain evident in his eyes. He closed his eyes and murmured, 10,000 Illusions Heavenly Demon Path, like the manifestation of a heavenly demon, enters the body, igniting the fire of the essence spirit, burning both body and soul. Liu Mei, how deep is our hatred that you would go to such lengths to collect my past? The familiar faces around him turned into wisps of blue smoke, drifting as if ethereal, all rushing towards Wang Lin and merging into his body in an instant. He raised his right hand, and a mist floated in his palm. This mist was formed by the wisps of blue smoke that had fused into his body. His essence spirit contained the ancient thunder dragon and possessed the heavenly and earthly thunder might. To shake his primordial energy, the 10,000 Illusions Heavenly Demon Path was not enough. Staring at the mist, Wang Lin fell silent for a moment before crushing it. Although your cultivation has been forcibly increased, your comprehension of the conceptual realm is insufficient. There is a saying among mortals, pulling up seedlings to help them grow. This saying describes you perfectly. At the moment he crushed it, a muffled groan came from the void, and then the figure of Liu Mei materialized in the distance. Her face was pale as she stared at Wang Lin, her eyes filled with hatred. She hissed, as expected of Wang Lin, you truly have a ruthless heart. It is not I who am ruthless, but you. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strong killing intent, without any concealment. I seek the Tao with all my heart, yet you use a filthy soul intent to defile my purity. How do you explain that? Liu Mei's voice tore through the air, breaking the previous calm. The hatred in her eyes deepened. Wang Lin furrowed his brow. This was a memory he did not wish to recall. His eyes turned cold, and he spoke softly. You acted first. Moreover, the soul intent was an accident. An accident? Liu Mei laughed. Her laughter grew louder until it became a boundless malicious sound. She could maintain the path of the 10,000 Illusions Heavenly Demon on anyone, but before Wang Lin, she could not control her emotions. You gave me an accident, so now, I will return the favor. A complicated pain flickered in her eyes, and she reached for her storage pouch. Wang Lin's brows furrowed. The immortal guard puppet behind him suddenly materialized, stepping towards Liu Mei. Liu Mei raised her right hand from the storage pouch. The pouch opened, and a black mist surged out. At the same time, a tremendous grudge energy erupted from within. This grudge energy was overwhelming. The entire sky seemed to be shrouded in dark clouds, turning murky, with a massive vortex slowly rotating above. The grudge was so thick that eerie howls echoed within a 10-mile radius, resembling the ghost realm. A piercing scream came from the black mist, and the black light moved so fast that even divine sense couldn't lock onto it. It dashed forward, bypassing the immortal guard, and headed straight for Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he stared at the black light. The moment it was about to reach him, he turned his fingers into a sword, suddenly pointing out. A gust of wind surged from his fingertip, sweeping away the mist and revealing a pair of black eyes. The instant Wang Lin's gaze landed on these eyes, he froze. They were murky, devoid of any life, only filled with vengeful flames. However, as soon as Wang Lin saw these eyes, his mind was violently shaken. A feeling of merging with water and milk suddenly surged through his entire body, like thousands of thundering explosions in his ears. He instinctively withdrew his fingers and took several steps back, staring intently at the black mist. What is this? A sharp pain surged from Wang Lin's heart at that moment, spreading throughout his body. His eyes suddenly turned bloodshot, and he waved his right hand. The immortal guard puppet rushed back in an instant, casting a large shadow to envelop the mist and prevent its movement. What is this inside? Wang Lin's face twisted with rage as he shouted at Liu Mei. Liu Mei smiled slightly, but her eyes were filled with pain as she looked at Wang Lin, chuckling. Can't you recognize it? You should be able to, with your cultivation. There is a legend among mortals. If a person loses several children in their life, their souls do not dissipate. Instead, they follow behind, silently watching you, speaking to you, but you cannot hear them. Only at the moment of your death do you hear their voices, asking, "Father, why didn't you want me?" Liu Mei's voice was laced with an eerie, even crazed, undertone. I refined this child within my body for 100 years, and finally forged him into a grudge infant. When he became conscious, I kept telling him that it was his father who abandoned him. His father is Wang Lin. Wang Lin, you have shattered my Tao heart, destroyed my conceptual realm, and taken my purity. If this was an accident, then today, I will repay you with a special treasure. Wang Lin remained silent. This silence was profound, as if all vitality had been drained from him in an instant. What remained was only endless death energy. Unlike the shock and mental turbulence he had felt when he sensed Li Muin's possible resurrection, or the wild outburst when facing Tianhua Yuan, or even the focus he had when confronted with a crisis, Wang Lin's silence now was unnerving and frightening. At this very moment, it seemed as if the heavens stood still, the earth unmoved, and everything between heaven and earth was as though bound by a spell, completely silent. Looking at the mist surrounded by the immortal guard puppets, Wang Lin's gaze seemed to penetrate through it, and he saw a small, weak figure within. The intense resentment in the mist could not stop Wang Lin's gaze in the slightest. Thank you. After an unknown period of time, Wang Lin whispered. Liu Mei was taken aback, staring at Wang Lin, and spoke sharply. Wang Lin, doesn't your heart hurt? Wang Lin didn't even look at Liu Mei, his gaze still quietly fixed on the figure within the mist, softly speaking. You turned him into a grudge infant. I can bring him back, even if it takes 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years. Thank you for returning him to me. This was far beyond Liu Mei's expectations. She sneered and said, he won't be able to recover. To make him fully transform into a grudge infant, Before Liu Mei could finish, Wang Lin calmly interrupted. If I say it can be done, it will be done. His gaze shifted from the mist and locked onto Liu Mei, his calm expression slowly changing into one of unimaginable murderous intent. Except for Tianhua Yuan, Wang Lin had never felt such intense murderous intent toward anyone. Now it's your turn. Wang Lin's voice was not cold, yet it made the surroundings seem to instantly enter winter. He took a step forward, his right thumb pointed slightly, and the netherworld finger suddenly appeared. The sky rumbled with thunder, and the netherworld emerged once more, transforming into an endless yellow dragon that fused into Wang Lin's thumb. The finger, formed by Tao transformation netherworld, shot out from his thumb like a thunderbolt, heading straight for Liu Mei. Liu Mei retreated, slapping her storage pouch, and immediately a huge, ancient mirror appeared in her hands. This treasure was a gift from the Patriarch of the Phantom Clan, a low-grade, immortal treasure. The mirror stood upright, and when the netherworld finger struck it, a thunderous sound erupted. At the same time, Wang Lin stepped forward, and the seven-star sword formation swept across, surrounding Liu Mei. With a low shout from Wang Lin, seven-sword chi howled toward her. Pseudo-peak of ascension, possessing immortal power but lacking conceptual realm. In my eyes, you're not even as strong as a true mid-ascension cultivator. Wang Lin said indifferently, his right hand manifesting the annihilation finger, which, together with the seven-star sword formation, surged towards Liu Mei. The sword beams reached her, and Liu Mei's face changed drastically. In the moment of crisis, she bit her tongue, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and something flew out of her mouth, a black needle. As soon as the needle appeared, it quickly moved around Liu Mei's body, and the seven-star sword formation was immediately obstructed. Even the annihilation finger's wind was pierced by the black needle. The fourth soul. Wang Lin coldly glanced at it, his eyes flashing with cold light. He raised his hand and gently pointed. Freeze. The black needle abruptly stopped. Just as it struggled, Wang Lin stepped forward, directly arriving beside Liu Mei, and his right hand struck her forehead with force. Liu Mei let out a miserable cry, and immediately, a large amount of black mist erupted from her forehead. She immediately retreated, her eyes filled with terror. She had never expected that although Wang Lin was at the early stage of ascension, his divine abilities and treasures were astonishing. Trying to escape? Wang Lin stepped forward again, his fingers forming a sword, and a portion of his essence spirit thunder might gathered at his fingertip. With this one strike, he was determined to take the life of this venomous woman. The shadow of death enveloped Liu Mei's body. Her face turned pale. Wang Lin's previous strike had injured her essence spirit, and if it weren't for her thick immortal power, she would have died from that blow. Liu Mei screamed. Wang Lin frowned as the black mist, enveloped by the immortal guard puppets, began to churn violently. The mist emitted anguished cries that sounded like sharp swords, rushing straight for Wang Lin, tearing at his heart. A hint of sorrow appeared in Wang Lin's eyes, but without hesitation, he pointed again, unleashing a thunderous strike toward Liu Mei. At this critical moment, Liu Mei's eyes showed despair, but suddenly, a swirling vortex appeared before her. It was pitch black, as if shrouded in thick clouds. A slightly withered arm extended from the vortex, casually pressing against Wang Lin's two fingers. With a loud boom, Wang Lin's body was forced backward like a meteor, his face pale as he coughed up a mouthful of blood, but his eyes radiated an overwhelming coldness. You're not dead." A voice, ancient and frail, came from the vortex. The hand grabbed Liu Mei and pulled her back into the vortex. "You save her, and the Phantom Clan will be wiped out." Wang Lin's voice was as cold as a winter wind, his gaze fixed on the arm. At this moment, it was clear that the only person who could save Liu Mei was none other than the Patriarch of the Phantom Clan. As he spoke, Wang Lin moved forward without hesitation, his right hand forming the sword Qi of Ling Tianhou. He struck with lightning speed, sending the sword Qi whistling toward the vortex. "You arrogant brat. Even if you have a puppet at the Yin-Yang illusory realm, you're still no match for me. For the sake of your past ties with Huan Mei, I don't care to get involved in the grudges between the two of you. But if you continue to meddle, I will show you no mercy." An aged voice echoed from within the vortex. He seized willow eyebrows and merged completely into the swirling void. But in that instant, Ling Tianhou's sword Qi also surged forth, charging straight into the vortex, aiming directly at the Patriarch of the Phantom Clan on the other end. Pursuing the Patriarch of the Phantom Clan. At the moment of impact, the vortex collapsed under the force of the sword Qi. A muffled groan from the Patriarch echoed from within. Far away, within the ancestral residence of the Phantom Clan on Illusion Star, the Patriarch sat cross-legged in seclusion. Before him spun a massive vortex. But now, it began to crack, inch by inch, like it had taken on physical form. As it fully shattered, a beam of white light carrying willow eyebrows flashed out from the vortex. Once inside the seclusion chamber, the light scattered, tossing willow eyebrows aside. The light didn't pause to tend to her. It darted anxiously toward the Patriarch's brow, merging into his forehead with alarming speed. The Patriarch's eyes flew open, a flicker of shock passing through them. Without hesitation, he raised his right hand and struck out at the space before him, shouting, "Shatter!" Just now, his essence spirit had left his body and used a divine art to cross the stars to rescue willow eyebrows. At first, he hadn't taken Wang Lin seriously at all. That one finger he had unleashed was meant to end Wang Lin's life. But when it struck, he clearly felt it dissipate upon reaching Wang Lin's essence spirit. It only wounded him, it couldn't kill. This shocked him. At the same time, he immediately noticed the immortal guard puppet. Its Yin-Yang illusory realm cultivation astonished him. He knew he was currently in a severely weakened state. His own cultivation dropped to that very same realm. Even if he could defeat the puppet, it would further drain his strength. Moreover, there was something strange about Wang Lin's essence spirit. This made the Patriarch grow wary. Had he not been weakened, he would have slaughtered Wang Lin without a second thought. Still, Wang Lin's cold words held no weight in his mind. Even with that puppet, The Patriarch believed he had contingency plans. So, after tossing out a threat, he fled with Willow Eyebrows. Willow Eyebrows had been painstakingly cultivated by him, not just for appearances, but for purposes he couldn't reveal. There was no way he would let her die before reaching the second step of cultivation. But what the Patriarch never expected was that at such a critical moment, the enemy would unleash a sword chi. When it first approached, he dismissed it. But to his astonishment, it shattered the vortex harboring his essence spirit in an instant. That alone was shocking enough, but the sword chi didn't fade. It pierced through and headed straight for his essence spirit. Its power was so terrifying that the Patriarch felt a chill run down his spine. Within that sword chi, he vaguely sensed an aura belonging to the pure nirvana stage. This realization filled him with dread. He dared not face it directly and fled in panic. Activating his essence spirit's fastest possible speed, he escaped the vortex with Willow Eyebrows and returned to the Phantom Clan's seclusion chamber. Once inside, he immediately re-entered his body and cast a divine art to collapse the vortex completely, hoping to trap the sword chi in the void forever. The vortex disintegrated in an instant, scattering into countless crystalline sparks. The Patriarch let out a sigh of relief, but his expression immediately shifted. Face pale, he cursed under his breath, sprang to his feet, and yanked Willow Eyebrows backward. From the remnants of the shattered vortex, a burst of golden radiance suddenly shot forth. The moment it appeared, millions of streams of sword chi exploded throughout the chamber. A deafening roar shook all of Illusion Star. The seclusion chamber, overwhelmed by the sword chi, detonated. A massive shockwave erupted, collapsing the entire space. Dust surged like a storm. Amidst the haze, the Patriarch shot out, disheveled and stunned, clutching Willow Eyebrows as he transformed into a streaking rainbow and fled. Damn it! How could that brat, who merely knows Willow Eyebrows, possess such devastating sword chi? What lunatic of the pure nirvana stage would hand over such power to a first-step junior? That's pure bullying. The Patriarch cursed wildly in his heart. It wasn't that he couldn't resist the sword chi, but in his current fragile state, taking that blow would destabilize his cultivation even further. As the chamber collapsed, the sword chi shot out in pursuit of the fleeing Patriarch. Within it was Ling Tianho's overbearing intent. At that moment, it was as if all of heaven and earth were infused with that oppressive presence. This sword chi had reached an extreme. It was nearly peerless. The moment it broke free, the world itself seemed to freeze. In this moment, it felt as if time had stopped. The winds and clouds shifted dramatically, rolling backward and creating a rare scene like the tides of a sea of clouds. All the great divine ability cultivators from across the entire Illusion Star sensed the sword chi, and the sky dimmed. As the sword light flashed, the entire world was filled with sword chi. The intensity of this sword energy, coupled with its overbearing concept, was such that any divine abilities in the world seemed to give way to it, unable to rival its momentum. This overwhelming power was the heavenly might. Radiating a bright, glaring golden light, the sword chi whistled and formed the sharpest peak in the heavens and earth, chasing the Patriarch of the Phantom Clan. The sword chi was incredibly fast, but it could be dodged or escaped. However, the concept of Ling Tianho contained within it grew stronger the more one showed weakness. The more you resisted, the more powerful it became. The Patriarch of the Phantom Clan's expression darkened. He swung his willow-like eyebrows backward, and as he clasped his hands together, white light flickered. The Tao concept he had spent his life cultivating, the 10,000 illusions formless Tao, was also capable of enchanting everything. But in his hands, it had even greater power. His fingers flashed with intense white light, and his Tao concept surged upwards. The Patriarch of the Phantom Clan fully activated his primordial energy, channeling it into his fingers, shouting loudly as he thrust his hand forward with force. The white light flashed, shooting forward to clash with the oncoming sword chi of Ling Tianho. A thunderous roar reverberated across the Illusion Star, and when the white light dissipated, the golden sword chi was like lightning, entering the Patriarch's body directly through his fingers. His body swayed, and his face immediately turned pale. Fear filled his eyes as he remembered something the young one had said before. If you save her, the Phantom clan will be annihilated. These 7 words, which he had once dismissed, now sounded like 7 thunderclaps ringing in his ears. With such a sword energy, he had no doubt that this person had the power to destroy his clan. What terrified him even more was that this person had more than 1 such sword chi. If this person possesses more than 6 sword chi of this level, I would be doomed unless I could recover my glimpse of Nirvana stage. But even that is not the most terrifying thing. The true terror lies in the master of this sword chi. To be able to give such sword energy to this young one means their relationship is extremely close, perhaps even a direct descendant. The Patriarch's scalp tingled, and even with his composure, he couldn't help but feel a pang of fear. Though he was the Patriarch of the Phantom clan, having reached the glimpse of Nirvana stage, the more powerful he became, the more he realized the terrifying difference of the pure Nirvana stage. The second step of cultivation was worlds apart from the first. The first step could sometimes allow one to challenge higher realms with powerful magical tools or divine abilities, even potentially killing stronger opponents with a well-timed combination of treasures and abilities. But the second step of cultivation made such challenges impossible. Each level was a gap between heaven and earth. Not to mention the difference between the early and mid-glimpse of Nirvana stages. It was an insurmountable chasm. A single sword strike from a cultivator in the pure Nirvana stage had made him so wary, and this made it all too clear. The best option now was to hand over the willow-like eyebrows. The Patriarch of the Phantom clan's gaze shifted to the distant, dejected figure of the willow-like eyebrows, and then, gritting his teeth, he gave up on that idea. This person must be from the Alliance Star domain, if he knows the willow-like eyebrows. Even if his master is extremely powerful, without the Luotian stone, he couldn't enter here, unless there is a transmission array on that side as well. But even if there is, once his master arrives, this will no longer be a matter between us two, but a war between 2 star domains, and the experts of the Thunder Immortal Palace will step in. Besides, once my plan with the willow-like eyebrows succeeds, I might be able to reach the pure Nirvana stage myself. Even if I don't, reaching the great perfection of glimpse of Nirvana should be no problem. Having made up his mind, the Patriarch of the Phantom clan immediately spread his divine sense across the entire Illusion Star. Old friends of the Qin clan, brothers of the Su family, I, Huan, have an urgent request. On Ranyan Star, Wang Lin, staring at the collapsing vortex, withdrew his gaze and turned to the black mist surrounded by immortal guard puppets. From within the mist, the sound of sharp, juvenile shrieks echoed out. Each cry felt like a sharp sword stabbing into Wang Lin's heart. A trace of pain flashed in Wang Lin's eyes as he gazed at the black mist, especially at the pair of murky eyes within. When they met Wang Lin's gaze, a thick resentment emanated from them. Is this my child? My own flesh and blood. Wang Lin slowly walked into the black mist surrounded by immortal guard puppets, a gentle expression on his face. After hesitating for a moment, he raised his right hand and extended it into the mist. Without hesitation, the grudge infant inside the mist bit down on Wang Lin's finger. Its sharp teeth pierced his skin, and a cold, resentful energy rushed into Wang Lin's body through the wound. Wang Lin did not pull his hand back. His gaze remained soft as he quietly looked at the child, who was continuously draining his blood. It will be fine. Your name is Li, right? The character Li is not good. How about Ping? From now on, your name will be Wang Ping. I hope you will be safe and sound, and not like me. Wang Lin gazed at the child for a long time, then sighed softly. The resentment that had entered his body had no effect on him. With a sweep of his essence spirit's thunder might, it would be completely eradicated. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin formed hand seals with his left hand, and a series of restriction seals flashed and landed around the mist. As the immortal guard puppet retreated, the seals were suddenly gathered. As the mist shrank and was gradually sealed by the restriction seals, Wang Lin gently picked up the child, sealed by the restriction, with his right hand and pressed it to his forehead, placing it within the heavenly reversal. A portion of his essence spirit merged with the heavenly reversal, continuously dispersing the resentment. Wait until I finish dealing with the trivial matters. Then, I will enter seclusion and help you clear the resentment, Pinger. Don't worry, Wang Lin said softly. With a motion of his right hand, he grasped the fourth soul of the soul banner, took it out, and threw it into the banner. Master Dun Tian, I have retrieved the fourth soul. The power of the soul banner will soon resurface. Wang Lin turned, and his gaze landed on the distant city. Come out, Wang Lin said calmly. Sun Shi cautiously flew out from the city. He had witnessed the battle earlier, and his heart was greatly shaken. The cruel methods of Liu Mei and the later arrival of the Patriarch of the Huan family had stirred up an enormous wave in his heart. Now, facing Wang Lin, perhaps due to his weakened cultivation, an overwhelming sense of awe and fear rose within him. Senior. Wang Lin looked at Sun Shi, noticing the unstable sword light beneath his feet. Clearly, Sun Shi was extremely afraid at this moment. Brother Sun, no need for such formalities. Wang Lin sighed lightly. Sun Shi remained silent, took a deep breath, cupped his fists toward Wang Lin, and bitterly said, Su. Brother Su, the three of us previously concealed the truth with our avatars, intending to drag you into this mess as a scapegoat. Enough, don't mention it again. Is the Ran family's ancestor and the carefree duo safe now? Wang Lin said softly. The Ran family's ancestor had an avatar hundreds of years ago and left Ran Yunstar long ago. His whereabouts are unknown, but I believe there's no issue. As for Zhao Chuanwen, his avatar couldn't be refined, but he seems to possess some divine ability that allows him to split his essence spirit. I suspect he also left Ran Yunstar long ago. Sun Shi quickly explained. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment before slowly speaking. Since I've accepted your 3 immortal jades, I will do my best. As for the others, I will ensure their safety for 100 years, and their family line will not be extinguished. In this way, I will have fulfilled my duty. Sun Shi bowed deeply, gratitude showing on his face, and said, Su brother, on behalf of the other 2, I thank you. After a slight hesitation, he added, but as for the Huan family, Wang Lin raised his head and looked at the sky. His gaze seemed to penetrate the starry void, landing with certainty on the illusion star, as he resolutely said, the Huan family will no longer exist. He was not being arrogant, nor was he overestimating himself. Deep within, there was a wild thought. To kill Liu Mei, anyone who stood in his way would be slain by Wang Lin. Sun Shi shuddered. He could feel the killing intent brewing within Wang Lin, so intense that once it erupted, the world would be drenched in blood. Sun Shi's cultivation had greatly diminished, and at this moment, his heart shook. He quickly lowered his head, not daring to look at Wang Lin. Wang Lin glanced at Sun Shi and slowly spoke. For those below the divinization stage, there is no need for profound comprehension. As long as you have enough spiritual energy, you can ascend. Furthermore, you have your own understanding from years of cultivation before. I can help you reach the late nascent soul stage. As for divinization and above, you will need to break through on your own. In the future, you might have the chance to aim for a higher realm. Sun Shi remained silent, bitterly smiling, and said, when I aimed for the pinnacle before, it was a life or death gamble, a chance encounter. I truly have no courage to undergo that test again. Recalling the life and death trial when he aimed for the pinnacle, Wang Lin sighed and said, I cannot help you reach the pinnacle. At most, with your own comprehension of the realm, I can help you reach the infant metamorphosis stage. But for that, you will need an 8th grade spirit pill. Once you take it, your cultivation will stop here, and you will never be able to advance further. When he was on Vermilion Bird Star, the Snow Domain Nation had risen to a level 5 cultivation nation because of the red butterfly. Their sect leader had similarly used this method to go from divinization to infant metamorphosis, but he would never make progress again. At this moment, Wang Lin possessed an 8th grade spirit pill, and under his control, Sun Shi would be able to bear its power. Sun Shi gritted his teeth and decisively said, Su brother, I choose the latter. Wang Lin did not say another word. He raised his right hand, pointed to the sky, and immediately the world darkened. Dao transformation yellow springs surged out, like a yellow river, twisting through the heavens and the earth. To raise Sun Shi's cultivation, a vast amount of spiritual energy was needed. Even Wang Lin could not achieve it without using divine abilities. Only by guiding the energy with his Tao concept could he stir the spiritual energy of the world. The Tao transformation yellow spring expanded, and Wang Lin's Tao merged into it, forming a vast and powerful force. At that moment, the entire earth trembled slightly, and deep underground, the broken spiritual veins gathered together, forming swirling spiritual energy. Tao transformation yellow spring, third style, yellow spring power. Wang Lin uttered softly, and immediately, rumbling sounds came from the yellow spring in the sky. At the same time, a massive pulling force gradually spread from within, eventually reaching its peak. The earth suddenly shook. Spiritual energy from the broken spiritual veins suddenly shot up, resembling flying dragons that, in an instant, were absorbed by the yellow spring. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and with a wave of his left hand, he grasped Sun Shi in midair and sent him into the yellow spring. He shouted, "Close your eyes and breathe." Inside the yellow spring, Sun Shi heard piercing screeches. His heart trembled, and he quickly closed his eyes, focusing on his breathing. The dense spiritual power surged into his body uncontrollably. After a moment, Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch, took out an 8th-grade medicinal pill, and crushed the wax on its surface. Immediately, a strong fragrance wafted out. He tossed it into the air, and the pill flew into the yellow spring. Midway, the pill shattered into blue smoke and merged into the yellow spring. 3 days later, a long howl came from within Wang Lin's yellow spring. Sun Shi suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze flashing with divine light. His body flickered, and he stepped out of the yellow spring. He stared blankly at his hands. A sweep of his essence spirit revealed his progress, and his face showed excitement. He took a deep breath, overwhelmed with joy at the feeling of regaining what he had lost. He bowed deeply to Wang Lin and said solemnly, "Brother Su, I am eternally grateful for the life you have given me." During these 3 days, Wang Lin had continuously controlled the yellow spring. Now, as Sun Shi stepped out, the yellow spring dissipated. Wang Lin calmly said, "Your cultivation has returned to the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, but this is your limit. You don't need to thank me. It's just the way of righteousness." With that, Wang Lin looked up at the sky and whispered, "This place is now in your hands. After settling the descendants of the 3 families, wait for my return." Wang Lin stepped forward, and his figure vanished into the void, heading straight for the horizon. The gale layer could not stop Wang Lin's figure. Like a meteoric rise, he roared through, even piercing the star-locking great formation. The star compass turned into silver light, carrying him straight toward the illusion star. The location of the illusion star had been clearly marked on the jade slip Sun Shi had given him. The silver light surged with a dense, murderous aura, locking onto the illusion star. In the silver light, Wang Lin sat cross-legged. During the 3 days that Sun Shi was recovering, he carried out the wild thoughts in his mind. His eyes were cold, silently staring ahead. The Phantom clan has been on the illusion star for many years, with their influence deeply entrenched. But I do not believe that there are numerous cultivators in their clan who have reached the second step. Right now, only one may have reached it. After all, second-step cultivators are extremely rare. If the Patriarch of the Phantom clan dies trying to protect Liu Mei, someone will certainly assist him. After all, the illusion star is just one of the many powers on this star. On the illusion star, the Patriarch of the Phantom clan had already issued an order, summoning all the direct descendants to return and gather in the southern part of the illusion star, forbidding them to leave. Moreover, he had activated the clan's protective formation, which immediately covered the southern region with a glowing shield. However, the number of Phantom clan members was too large, and not everyone could return within such a short time. Some were still on their way. So in his anxiety, the Patriarch dispatched many high-ranking clan cultivators to scatter and bring the others back. The illusion star was home to 3 large cultivation families, the Qian, Phantom, and Su families. Among them, the Qian family was the largest, the Phantom family second, and the Su family the smallest. There were 3 second-step cultivators in the Qian family, and with such immense power, they had become the overlords of the illusion star, controlling the northern and eastern regions. As for the Phantom family, there were only 2 second-step cultivators. One had died thousands of years ago during the opening of the Thunder Immortal realm, and the other was the current Patriarch of the Phantom Clan. With such strength, the Phantom Clan should not have ranked second on the Illusion Star. However, their bloodline could be traced back to a powerful immortal from the Thunder Immortal realm before it collapsed. It was rumored that within the Phantom Clan, there was an immortal treasure and a protective jade slip left behind by that immortal from the Thunder Immortal realm before its collapse. This treasure allowed the Phantom Clan to maintain its position despite the absence of their patriarch for several thousand years. As for the Su family, it was mysterious and made both the Qian and Phantom families wary. Numerous clues and signs indicated that the Su family of the Illusion Star had deep connections with the famous Donglin Star from the Luotian Star domain. The reputation of Donglin Star was enormous, making the Su family a powerful third force on the Illusion Star. Fortunately, the Su family kept a low profile and generally did not participate in the affairs of the Illusion Star, allowing for a peaceful coexistence between the three factions with little friction. One day, one of the 3 second-step cultivators from the Qian family, an elder at the Yinyang Void Realm, left the Qian family and headed straight into the starry sky. His target is none other than Wang Lin, who has arrived here,